stop. In episode 123 of Man Up, Christian, Hudson, and I answer the question of, what should you look for in a wife? Masculinity for the intelligent man. I'm David Tian, Ph.D, and this is Man Up! Hey, I'm David Tian, Ph.D, and welcome to episode 123 of Man Up. Over the past 10 years, I've been helping a million people help get success in dating and their love lives. And welcome to episode 123. And with my very good friend, Christian Hudson from the Hero Company.
Or, well, that's the name of the
Also, thesocialman.com.
Yeah. Just want to show you guys what we're filming.
We're on Facebook Live right now.
It's kind of a weird little...
so go to their Facebook page. It's The Social Man, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
That's right.
Cool. So and we are answering a question from the private Facebook group. And it's from Jacques. This is from the Man Up private Facebook group. But before we go into that, I want to just introduce Christian Hudson for the guys who don't know him.
Hello.
I don't know who doesn't know Christian Hudson, but this is a guy who started me on my journey like almost 12 years ago. Right? Like
it's a long ass time ago.
Almost 12 years ago, and it's good to see you again. It's been like a couple of years.
Yeah, it has.
We usually meet in some exotic place.
Yeah. David lives over in, well, you guys probably know, you guys don't. David lives over, he kind of splits his time between Singapore and, not Indonesia.
Bangkok.
Bangkok, yeah, that's right. And so we don't get a chance to see each other as much as we like, but whenever we do, it's always cool hanging out, and he's in town visiting this week. And so we thought we'd come at everybody here and share this answer.
Been going to Gold's Gym.
Right.
Beach and hanging out with Arnold a little bit. Okay, so let's just dive into the question, and then they can learn more about you as you go along.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, here's the question. It is a long question. I'm scrolling along the question, and I'm going to try to summarize it. The question itself is from Jacques. It is, what are wife material traits? And the backstory is that he has had some success with short-term relationships, but he's looking for a successful marriage and long-term relationship, and thinking about having kids in the future. And he thinks it's a different game when it comes to looking for something long-term. So he suggested some qualities. He wanted to get some feedback. And here are these qualities. I'm just going to read them out because he wrote these paragraphs to describe the qualities. But here are the qualities. Loyalty, which he says is more than fidelity. So unwavering support for the man is what he means. Not a drama queen, and so she apologizes.
One of those.
Yeah, she apologizes or takes responsibility for bad behavior. Attractiveness. Now we can go on. Appreciative, a good worker. And he says it's not just a measure of her employability, but it gives insight on what kind of person she is. He says he has more qualities that he looks for, but he would like to hear our opinion on those.
Okay. So do we know where he's located? Like where in the world is Jacques?
I think he is French or French-Canadian.
Okay, sure. Okay, fair. So, hey Jacques, I've got some thoughts for those of you still listening who are on board. Let me look. So a couple things stand out to me about Jacques. I'm really curious what you would think. But a couple things that Jacques said here that I really want to call attention to. He said loyalty, more than just fidelity, but loyalty, I mean unwavering support for a man. As somebody tells me I would be a bad father and my partner defends me and says she completely disagrees. Not a drama queen, apologizes or takes responsibility for bad behavior without needing to get into long arguments. So Jacques is right now starting to describe to me a woman who doesn't exist.
Right.
And specifically, it seems like he wants, and I've worked with men like this, especially wealthy men. It's interesting, like some of the men who I've worked with who are very wealthy or successful have this attitude of like, a woman should be everything I want her to be and nothing I don't want her to be.
Right.
And that's an awful way to enter a long-term relationship. So one thing he says that unwavering support for the man. A woman should support you to the extent that your actions match her values. Mm-hmm. And if you act in a way that is in lack of accordance with her values and what she believes, then she doesn't need to support you. If you're off cheating, if you're off actually doing stuff that would be bad husband stuff. So I just want to point this out that I see Daryl there. Hey Daryl, that's a Facebook Live thing. So I just want to point this out that like immediately I'm reading between the lines in what Jacques is saying, and I'm getting the sense of somebody who feels a little bit entitled and a little bit like he's looking for a unicorn who is going to give him everything he wants and who's going to completely compromise whenever he wants to. And that bespeaks a lack of maturity to me that I think Jacques needs to recognize, hey, a big part of finding the right long-term woman is being the right long-term man, and that means that you are going to have things that you disagree on, you're going to have things that she doesn't support you in, and you're going to have to, I'll close on this thought, on the things that you disagree on that she doesn't support you in, you have to decide if those, you as a man have to decide, are these issues that you can live with? Are they disagreements you can live with? And are they things that, at a values level, you guys can support each other on or not? So a simple one, like every now and then I'll have a cigarette. Like if I'm out, like I'll socially smoke. My fiance fucking hates it. And she'll always be like, I don't like you smoking. And she'll like make it known, but we have like a discussion one time. I'm like, look, if I ever stop this, it'll be because I want to, not because you want me to. If we have kids, I'm not going to stop it unless I want to. If we, if I get sick, but I don't do it enough that it's going to cause like serious health issues in my life. So just a small issue where we kind of said, okay, look, that's not a big one. It's not impactful to my life in a major way. Right. So we can disagree on that one. If it was a matter of, let's say, going out to strip clubs 3 times a week, I think she would not be happy with me, and I can accept that part of her not being happy with that, and so we can say on that matter of values, we're in agreement, and we don't have to we don't have to have fights about that.
So much testosterone.
So anyway, let me toss back.
Yeah, those are all great points. Actually, that brought up something else I'm going to mention now. Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention, just to start it off, is that a lot of the things that guys are looking for when they think they're looking for something in some traits in a long-term mate are very relative and specific to that person. So I love to travel and I love Asian food. I don't think I could get along with a woman who doesn't like to travel and doesn't like Asian food, but I wouldn't say that that's necessary for a long-term mate. It's less necessary for my long-term mate, but it may not be necessary for yours. And as far as like objectively, universally speaking, because you're asking what are wife material traits, that general question, a lot of what you've written down I don't think are going to be, a lot of what guys think of aren't going to be required. What's required, I think, just across the board is self-awareness. So she's got to know when she's freaking out or irrational or being controlled or overly emotionally, and also knowing what her journey is as a person. Because we're all imperfect and we're all evolving, and we have to be aware of that, because we're going to now, if we're in a relationship, we're going to evolve together. But she has to know she's evolving, and she's got to be growing, right? So no one's perfect at the beginning. Everyone's got to grow. She's got to know that. And then the second is emotional maturity. To confront when she's growing, she's going to make mistakes and she's going to misjudge things, and she's going to have a lot of grace for you, like when you fuck up. And I think those two things, emotional maturity and self-awareness, are going to be universally required. But a lot of these other things, like whether she likes to smoke or not, those are going to be relative.
Those are sort of not values, I would say. Those are just, things that are part of the everyday.
And in fact, they could change.
They could change completely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your politics could change, your religious views could change, people change. So these are great examples: loyalty, not a drama queen; attractiveness, appreciativeness, good worker. Jacques, I think what you're looking for is a slave.
Yeah,
a hot slave, like exactly, a Princess Leia,
exactly
chained to you. But I know a lot of guys who are like this. They don't want a drama queen, which means they don't want any challenges. They want a woman who will agree to everything he does and just basically is like a maid, like a really hot maid, who will help him with his job, who he does not have to support. You want a good worker who can make her own money, and independent. And these are all great traits in a male friend. Loyalty, not a drama queen, appreciative and a good worker, and I guess attractiveness is the only difference. So going along with what you were saying.
No, I completely agree. And this is where I see a lot of guys come in, either they're insecure or they're hurt. So like somebody made a comment, hey, it goes both ways. Nick, I completely agree, it goes both ways. You've got to bring your best self, and she's got to bring her best self. I wouldn't be with someone who is not going to bring their best self into a relationship. So I'm going to assume that there is this, you have this level of of discernment to find that right person, and we can talk about that, but we can't even really talk about who she is until we talk about who you are and what your expectations are for the relationship. Because I know when I was younger, certainly I had this expectation of, I don't want to call it the slave or the maid, but I had an expectation that I'm going to get a woman who doesn't challenge me. And it used to really hurt my ego when a woman would challenge me. And man, that took a lot of fucking work to get through and to evolve. And frankly, I want that in a relationship. I've written stuff about this, and I've had guys write to me angrily and say, it's not a woman's job to challenge a man. It's like, that's his own job. Fair, right? Okay, fair. He should be pushing himself to his boundaries. But there's going to be times when a man doesn't know what he's capable of.
Oh, definitely.
The woman who's next to him in his life, that life partner, should be able to say, hey, you deserve more, or you can be more. So just on Jacques' point, I really want to make that clear. When I get a challenge from my woman, I really try to discern whether it's a challenge, or we've talked about this before, tests of strength versus tests of insecurity. So a test of strength is, I want you to be better. I expect more from you. You are better than this. The man who I see in my eyes is better than this, and you're not living up to that. Versus, love me, hold me, support me, tell me how much you love me. That's that test of insecurity where she's looking for constant reassurance.
Yeah, and I find most guys also are looking for male friends who don't challenge them either, not in a direct way. So there's this an idea that you become the people that you associate with the most. I'm looking into live, I'm gonna look both ways. That you become those that you hang out with the most. And when you get married, you're gonna be hanging out the most with your wife, and or a girlfriend, right? Like that's the companionship thing. And both of you are gonna rub off on each other, not just physically, but so when you think about your peer group, and you think about your wife, she will be the biggest determinant of your peer group. A lot of guys don't think that. They just want a slave in a way, right? And here's the thing. Most guys' peer groups suck. And that's why you suck. So one of the problems is guys think that if I have a good friend, my friend will support me no matter what. And that's actually not true. That's not a good friend. So if you're under your standard, your friend should tell you, look, you're not living up to your potential. You're underselling yourself. And he should challenge you. And sometimes if you don't step up, in a way he should, walk away. So you feel like, shit, I lost that. I better step up.
I completely agree. And I've had to do this to friends in my life. And people who I've worked with in this business even, and it's painful as fuck. I've had to do it to women, and I've had women do it to me. My girlfriend in college, you remember her, Erica? She she loved my life at the time. I wrote her a long letter, and she still dumped me, and she said, you are not the man I need you to be. And she was absolutely right. And I look back on our breakup as such a fucking gift from her to me, because it forced me into New York, into new relationships, and all these things that I wouldn't have achieved otherwise. So I think what you're saying is so true and so right. Do you want to talk about what kind of traits we talked about those two traits?
Well, one thing I want to mention to Jacques, I've been coaching over 10 years, and I know Jacques is going to get really defensive right now, right? So Jacques, we're not attacking you directly. I'm saying that most guys, over 90% of men, are feeling the same way. They want a woman who does not present drama. But let's deal with drama, because that's actually one of the core traits of the feminine essence, right? Like to be masculine means that you're disciplined, you will break through, you'll go through, you'll follow through, and you'll get shit done, right? The feminine is in the moment, flowing. She wants to experience in the moment, to be free. And the world makes a lot of women stay in their masculine. And if you want to enjoy a passionate relationship and you're a masculine man, you should be looking for the feminine, and the feminine will often challenge you in seemingly irrational ways. And this is a big theme in the Man Up Show, where a lot of guys think are button up against the irrational feminine, and instead of embracing it and conquering it with your presence, you go in your head and start thinking, what an irrational bitch, right? Instead of realizing that, just responding to her energy instead of her words.
And feeling like your ego is being attacked as well.
Yeah,
your sense of self is being attacked. How could she be this way? How could she treat me this way? This is an imposition against me. And realizing that in that moment, is not about your ego, and it's about how things are feeling for her right then and there, and trying to depersonalize this and stepping up and being stronger. And that is such a hard thing to do, but it makes for so much better of a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you have a relationship where you basically have a good friendship, that's often what happens to marriages over time. You just become really good friends. Then there's no passion. That's because there's a depolarization between your masculine and her feminine. And over time, because she's your biggest determinant in your peer group, you kind of level out to be this pretty much the same. And you just spend evenings sitting on your couch every evening watching Netflix, and just like chilling out. That's your thing. But one caveat I want to put out there is, when you think about drama and challenges, it's really important to discern, like what you were getting at, what are good challenges and what are bad challenges or inappropriate challenges. So sometimes a girl's ego will come in to play because you're growing too fast, and she's reacting to that because she's not on the same life path as you. Right? Maybe she needs more validation. Maybe she wants to keep going clubbing, and now you're getting serious with your career or mission or something. And then she's going to create a lot of drama because she's reacting to that. And that's when your own self-awareness becomes really important. You need to know what your values are, what you're about, what mission you're on, and that will determine whether her challenges are mature challenges or immature ones.
I really like that. I know some people who have been through things like that, and they needed to hear that. But not now. They needed to hear that a while back.
Right.
And you can see that happening. And I think to a certain degree that goes into what I would call selfishness or selflessness in a woman. Everybody wants a woman who's selfless, right? And every woman wants a man who's selfless. And you're constantly fighting against those two things, right? One of the things we were talking about is a woman who has done some athletics in her life. Right. That's really a good proxy for whether she is going to be able to be a part of a bigger team, or if she's going to be able to, or if she's just somebody who's
like
very focused on herself.
Of
exactly. And being able to put herself aside and say what's right for everybody here. So and if you, I will say this, if you see a woman who you feel is holding you back out of her own insecurity, her own unwillingness to grow, to me that's the opposite of a trait that you want in a long-term relationship. But you and I we're very growth-oriented people. For as long as I know you, you've been trying to learn new things, push yourself in new ways, and grow in new skills. And thank you. And I'm very much the same way. So I think for a guy who's content to just sit around on the couch and hang out, that maybe he wants that girl who's not going to challenge him that much. But I think a lot of the men who follow us, who listen to us, hopefully you guys here and you guys there, you want to become the best man you can be. You want to have a woman who's going to support you, and part of that means finding a woman who is going to challenge you. But back to it, I do think, again, like you said, self-awareness,
emotional maturity. And then what you said also raised the issue of integrity. So in my mind, emotional maturity would include integrity, but just in case it's not clear, that's one of the rarest things to find among 20-somethings these days, like actual moral values. Because there's no religion anymore. So there's actually, philosophically speaking, there's no reason to have values. Those are evolutionarily adapted. But they don't exist. I mean, this is the standard view in academia. So if there's no God, there's no objective good, and if there's no objective good, then do whatever the fuck you want, right? YOLO. And so many people are doing so. Like, as long as they can get away with it and no one gets hurt, they'll do it. And that's not a good attitude for a long-term relationship, because at some point she's going to have to be able to restrain herself from following the pleasure angle, right? Because hey, she's still young and she could easily go back into a club and just get laid again, right? But maybe she's really had a fight, and so she could lash out that way. But she has to have enough integrity to say, no, I'm going to go back in and give it another shot. And that's a thing. That's something you have to decide as an act of will. And compassion, selflessness are very much lacking in people these days.
But I would say, so one thing that I see a lot on our blogs, I know we're getting a little long here, guys, but that's probably no problem because it's a productive conversation. One thing that I would say, and I see this a lot on the blogs, I see the anger, right? And you see it from both sides. A lot of guys, I'd love to write an article about this. A lot of guys are like, oh, women suck these days. And women are like, guys suck these days. Right. And there's just anger on both sides. It's like Republicans and Democrats, or like, who knows what, right? Everybody's angry at everybody. And and I think one of the things that I've accepted for myself is that there are behaviors that I will have which my woman and my friends are not going to like. And if they hold me to a perfect standard, I'm going to let them down.
Sure.
And it's going to require some flexibility on their part to accept that from time to time I'm going to be selfish, I'm going to be forgetful, I'm going to be, there's all these things. And when I get into arguments, I'm going to be, a butthead sometimes. And in the same way, I think that I need for my friends and my woman I have to accept that my friends and my women are going to be that way too. If I was completely unwilling to bend, if I was completely recalcitrant, I can't remember exactly what the word is, but recalcitrant, thank you. Then that would also not be productive to my long-term relationship goal, which is to have a loyal, loving relationship with one person. So, my point is both sides need to be able to be flexible and to have a degree of, you used the word grace earlier, which I really liked, a degree of grace for the bad behaviors of others, and willing to look,
that's the maturity angle,
yeah, it's the maturity angle, right?
You need to know we're all evolving and growing.
And again, this is where it goes back to you guys, because there's women watch these, but most of the people who watch these, at least our Facebook Lives, are men. And I think most of the people who watch David's stuff are men. So we're not talking to women out there saying, hey, you got to become more emotionally mature. You got to become, more self-aware. We're talking to you guys and saying, if you want to empower yourselves, have the best relationships possible. Yes, here are some traits to look for, but here are some things about yourself that you can evolve so that you can, A, be someone who deserves a woman with those traits, and B, be able to discern those traits when you see someone, and C, help guide someone into those traits when they're less than perfect, which which has happened to me before. There's been times when I've been probably excessively willing to let someone get away with something because I love them and because I believe, hey, if we can get through this issue, then perhaps she's going to grow. And in times that I've broken up with women, it's because they have not been able to leap past that.
Yes.
And in times when I've stayed with people, it's because if that was the issue, that she was being a bit of a butthead or what have you, we were able to talk through it, we were able to work it out, and she was able to contextualize what she did and part of the bigger picture of our relationship, and understand how that was causing problems and how this is a personality trait that doesn't become her. So you need to have a bit of, I would say, patience, of grace, in order to walk someone through that if you truly love them. And to me, that's a big trait of a great man. Is that
grace. Wow, we went to grace,
dude. Well, hey, David has
where it goes.
A lot of people don't know. David knows you have such a strong Christian background.
Right. Yeah. And then I did my PhD in religion. Religious studies partly. So.
And I know Christianity inside out. So that word, it's not surprising. That also discernment. I feel like discernment is a very Christian word.
Yeah. Well, self-awareness could be kind of discernment in a way. So, I got to wrap up my part here.
I think we should wrap up too. Thank you for joining. Let's wrap up the Facebook Live and also let's see.
Hey, Facebook Live.
Kevin wrote here. Let's wrap this up and then I'm going to talk some shit to Kevin.
Okay, cool. Okay, so join the private Facebook group. That's how you ask your questions. Click on the link below. I'll see you inside the group. This is episode 123.
Yeah.
Great to have you. Great to be here. I'm in their offices. Right. And until next time, man up.
All right. And I want to just talk. So we're still here with Kevin. Kevin wrote someone who can cook and clean. So he's either being...
he's got to be joking.
He's got to be joking. He's got to be fucking joking.
Cook and clean in a French maid outfit.
Yeah, that's exactly. No, but seriously, man. Let's just again highlight this sort of fallacy that a lot of guys have, like the housewife. Where I saw a lot of this was the manosphere, and a lot of those guys they're like the women in America, they don't fucking know what's good for them anymore. You want to go over to Eastern Europe and find find a woman over there and they'll take care of you. And it's such a fucking angry attitude, and I none of these guys seem very happy. So I don't really get it.
I think it's partly from sexual shame.
How's that?
Manosphere guys, because they're judging the women for basically acting like men.
Interesting.
Right, so the Madonna whore thing is driving the entire agenda.
Let's see if we can set this. I don't know.
What's a square?
Yeah, here, let's do that. So yeah, can you talk about that for a second?
Oh yeah. I'm thinking about
change.
doing the talk in under 21 convention partly on this theme. That they see women. Here's what they get pissed off on about that. They think that women should not complain when they slut it out in their 20s, when they reach their 30s and start looking for finally a nice guy that they can, beta male they can tame. And then they're like, well, fuck you, bitch. You cheated on me when you were in your 20s. You don't deserve this shit. So what they think that a good woman should be is a virginal princess, because he's ready to be the prince to the virginal princess. And then he got burned, so he's now going to burn women, and he sees the women who are cheating on guys, and he's cheating on girls, and they're all cheating on each other, and then they get bitter that the girls get to do this, because it's so much easier for a girl in her 20s to be a slut. And then they're going, ha ha ha, instead of understanding that women also are human beings, they also have sexual desires like dudes, and that they do make bad choices. Just like if you, as a man, had the power to just walk into a club and fuck any guy you want, any girl you want, depending on which club you're in, you probably would go, hey, you'll go crazy for a few years and get some STDs or some shit because you're such a slut. And it's a double standard, but more deeply than that, it is the Madonna whore complex that they haven't confronted.
That's really interesting. I don't know if this is resonating with you guys, but that's.
Well, I don't think you got a lot of manosphere type guys.
No, I don't think we do have a lot of manosphere type guys. But I don't know. We have some guys. We have some interesting guys. We have some guys who are like older, 40s, 50s. They've been through a divorce. They're kind of unhappy about the state of women and finding it a little difficult to get back in the game. That it's clearly like if you've been married for 15 years, 20 years, like. Yeah. Dynamics have shifted a lot in culture, and so we do see some anger there. Mm-hmm. But I think we answered the questions, and that was amazing, man. Thank you for going into that, and hope you guys. I'm getting a low battery warning on my phone, which means it's probably time to head out here. But thank you guys for joining us today. Wanted to remind everyone that Girlfriend System is on sale today. We are totally. It's kind of related actually to what we were talking about here. It's the whole course step by step how to find and attract and meet and keep an amazing woman in your life. If you just search if you go to girlfriend-system.com, I think that's a good place to look. Girlfriend-system.com. And we're giving away free copies of Ignition along with that for guys who buy the course. And if you're not on our mailing list, head over to socialman.com, check that out. And obviously, David, how do they find you on Facebook? It's like Aura.
If you're on Facebook, type Man Up Masculinity. It's a Facebook group. Join the Facebook group. You can reach me directly through there. Yeah. It's a closed group, so you can only see what's in it if you join.
Yeah. So that's amazing, man. If that's the type of advice you give, then everybody should be on there. So, yeah. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow, and thank you for being here today. And go get the Girlfriend System. Join David's group.
Girlfriend activity.
We'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Have a good one.